Cori Johnson, a fellow refugee from LA. By way of Sarah Lawrence. And I thought I'd have her here because we've been hearing from some of the more venerable members of our community. And so Cori is starting out on her design career and will tell us all sorts of things about that. So Cori, take it away.
Thank you very much. All right. This is okay, good. Okay, so good morning. I haven't been in front of a group of people this large since I was giving college tours at Sarah Lawrence. There were about the same number of hipsters in the audience though, so I think I'll be okay. So like Erica said, I'm from LA. I moved to San Francisco 2 years ago. When I first moved here, I was coming with the hopes that I was going to be a real designer and work at a real company and make real websites. And I thought, you know, I'll move up, I'll take a little bit of time off, I'll shop around for jobs and kind of get established in the city. I'll probably have a job within like 4 to 6 months at most. And then I was unemployed for 2 years. So the recession has a funny effect of, you know, giving you an idea like it can never happen to me, and it happened to me. So I kind of hit my low point in October of 2010. They're not showing. No, that's a black screen.
It's a black screen.
Because I want them to look at me. By the way, some of you might know it's actually Steve Jobs' birthday today, and I thought this is the first time I've ever used Keynote and given a talk with slides, so I thought that was kind of an auspicious occasion, so yay! Anyway, where was I? What?
Low point.
Low point. Yes. So I have been applying to jobs and not getting very many hits back, and I got really down on myself because the longer you're unemployed, you feel like the harder it is, you know, and you get more and more depressed, and you feel like this is never going to happen. What am I doing in this industry? Why did I move here? You know, I didn't have very many friends. So I was going to school for massage therapy, so I was doing things that were kind of like not related to design at all. And at one point, I was watching Battlestar Galactica, and I watched probably 10 episodes in a day without moving from my computer. So even though for the 2 years that I was, you know, unemployed, I was taking in some income, I was freelancing, and I was doing massage therapy, I identified as unemployed. So I wanted to show some, sorry, I'm nervous because I haven't talked to like this many people in a while. It's usually one-on-one, and I'm usually explaining like the plot of a TV show, like BSG. So don't mistake this for the idea that I'm a fan of BSG. We'll talk afterward. But anyway, I learned a lot about applying to jobs. I don't know if any of you are currently seeking employment or looking for people to hire. I see someone nodding, that makes me happy. Rolling Orange, the company that I'm with, is actually hiring, as well as Mule, and my awesome boyfriend's company is hiring, so if any of you need jobs, you can talk to us afterward. But the job hunt was a process that I learned a lot of things that I should have known going in, but you never know everything that you need to know going in. So I wanted to give you a few of my personal experiences, just to share some stories, and help you in surviving the job hunt. This is just some things that I picked up. I'm not an infopreneur. This is not information that I'm selling. I'm not an expert, so please don't expect me to be. But there are things that I noticed in hunting for jobs that you feel like there's a disconnect between you and the person across the table, or you and the email address that you're sending your application to. Is it for me? I really want to know who it is.
PG&E.
Okay.
Pay your bills, guys.
All right. So there are 3 things that I learned in hunting for jobs, and you'd think that they'd be like, you know, like do this to your resume, or act like this, or dress like this on an interview. This is how I dressed on my interview. So if you need a wardrobe for success, here you go. But these are just 3 simple kind of rules of thumb. They're not, surefire ways to get a job or to find the right person that you want to hire. These are just things that I think apply to job hunting and life sort of in general. So there's no surefire way to get anything, except called by PG&E if you don't pay your bills. There's no special way that you format your resume. There's no cover letter style that's going to get you an interview. There's no like special intro that is going to make people want to talk to you. If you go in thinking that you're going to follow a formula and you're just going to sort of play the numbers, it's kind of like how they say dating is a numbers game, but you don't treat people like numbers. You find something that you like about a person and you say it. Is anyone here on OkCupid? I know you are. No one's raising their hand, but I know you are. Thank you. I would get a lot of messages just saying like, hey, my name is so-and-so and I just moved to San Francisco and I'd love a friend to show me around the city. And I'm like, that's great. Do you really want it to be me? Because I can't really tell if you are just sending that out to 30 people a day or just to me. And it kind of gives, rubs people the wrong way if you feel like, they're just doing it to get attention or doing it to, get ahead. So it applies to job applications as well. The other thing is you can't bullshit yourself. When I moved up here, I had a lot of ideas about how awesome I was, but I also had a lot of fears about how much I sucked. So there was a little bit of conflicting noise, and that got in the way of people really being able to see who I was and what I was about. I was kind of letting my own beliefs about myself interfere with just being myself. And I think, some people can relate to that. The third thing is, it's really not just about you. There are other people across the table from you. And I know that kind of sounds weird and maybe kind of mean, but the point is, we're all in this together, for anyone who knows High School Musical. I've just revealed to the entire internet that I've seen High School Musical, so take that as you will. Basically, this is just saying that when you're in a job interview, I think it's easy to feel a lot of fear about, am I going to get this job? Is this a job that I really want? Again, it's all that noise, but, sorry. Okay, that was going to drive me crazy. I lose my train of thought a lot, so don't freak out. Thank you. Do I know you? You look really familiar too. You look like a person who's like okay, anyway. I would go into interviews thinking, how am I going to play this? And how am I going to present myself without really giving much thought to what do these people need? What do these people want to be doing? And how does that match up with me? So I had a little bit of a disconnect. So I kind of just want to encourage you to think of, how do you connect with a person rather than how do you kind of like sell them on something in order to get what you want. It's kind of like how people talk about networking, and that always left a bad taste in my mouth, or even marketing, when really it's just kind of connection and communication. And it sounds like a semantic thing, but it changed a lot about how I just felt about talking to people. So let's go back to the first one. So I was reading a lot of articles in my time when I wasn't employed. I would apply for jobs, I would search through the job boards, and I would look for ways to, how do I best format my resume? What's a good way, how long should the email be? How many paragraphs? How many exclamation marks are okay in an email to send? Without seeming like, oh, I'm too stale, but I want to be fun. And there were a lot of issues. By the way, I'm sure you all are familiar with these. These are the 3 job boards that I was searching on, and I encourage you to use them because for our industry, particularly for web designers and developers. These are key: the 37 Signals job board, Authentic Jobs, and the newest one, which is Behance. Behance is actually how I found the posting for my current job, and I think it's a little bit slightly designer friendlier. But going into these, I had the idea that, okay, there are so many listings, that means there's so much opportunity. If I apply to as many of these as possible, one is gonna write back, and I'm gonna get an awesome job, and I just need to just cast the widest net as possible. So I kind of had the feeling of, I'm going to apply to all the jobs. Which is great. There's something to be said for enthusiasm, but I would get rejected so much more because I was applying to so many jobs. I would apply to any job that I thought I was remotely qualified for, that I could feasibly do, and if the company was doing a thing that I was sort of interested in, can sort of picture myself doing. This is the wrong way. The wrong way to do it. Any of my better designers out there? No. Well, the internet will have them. Yeah. It's a gamer reference. There are no gamers in this room? Y'all are very quiet. You're making me nervous. All right. So the big point with there isn't a magic formula is just you need to not use someone else's rules. You need to figure out what is most natural for you and just throw it out there. Sorry, I hear music. I have a problem with sounds, so I'm really glad that the microphones aren't buzzing. Anyway. Oh, she's not looking, she's tweeting. Where was I? Damn it. Thank you. So I would write these cover letters that were like very boilerplate, like, hi there, I'm so-and-so, I'm a designer, I just moved to San Francisco. I think I'd be a great fit for your company because da-da-da-da-da, I'm awesome. And so I'd love to get in a room with your company and see if we'd be a great fit. I was literally copy and pasting. And because I was using Gmail, I would actually open Text Wrangler to remove the formatting so that when I sent the emails, it wouldn't show up as copied text. Like, I felt gross doing that. Like, this sounds like a really minor thing, but it didn't feel like I was actually connecting with anybody because I wanted to be applying to as many jobs as possible. And it just wasn't working. So don't fake your cover letters is the point of that. The first line of the email that I sent to the job that I currently have was hi there. I'm already excited about you guys. And I was not exaggerating. I looked at the job posting, I looked at the website, and I thought these are people who are doing what I want to do. These are people who treat their process really seriously and have it already kind of set up. These are people who have their shit together. And I want to talk to them because I want to work at a place that has their shit together. So it's really important to find something that you personally connect with about the company. It's worth the time. Which brings me to the next point, which is don't bullshit yourself about what you should be doing versus what you really want to be doing. And there's a difference between wanting something really badly and going after it relentlessly. And I didn't have those clearly delineated in my mind. I kind of would apply to a few jobs, and then when I would get rejected, I would see that as kind of confirmation that, oh, well, I guess I'm not good enough. So maybe I should, move back to LA, back with my parents, and get a job reading manuscripts for a studio, and kill my soul even further. I didn't do that, though. I stuck with it, and like I said, the longer that you're unemployed, the more that you think, should I really be doing this? Is all of these rejections are kind of adding up to like this confirmation, this isn't a place that I should be. And those are lies that you're telling yourself. Those are lies that I was telling myself. We all have kind of beliefs about ourselves, like I have a fear that people are gonna look at me and think, you know, she doesn't deserve to be here. I mean, it's a really scary belief to have. I have, you know, it's called imposter syndrome. And I was just afraid that people were gonna like see me as a fraud because I wasn't awesome enough. And it's kind of a stupid belief to have when you're just beginning your career and you're not expected to be an expert. But this was just crap that I was making up about myself. So if you have any of those, my mom calls them conversations about yourself in your head, just see them for what they are. They're lies, and don't believe them. Use different lies. I would go in thinking, you know, okay, they're gonna see that I don't have a lot of experience, they're gonna look at my resume, they're gonna see that it's more print than web, blah, 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 blah. Just have your better lies be louder than those. So I am awesome and I'm comfortable talking about it. And I'm going to go into that interview and I'm just gonna talk about stuff I care about, and I'm not gonna care what they think. All of this is untrue, but I'm telling it to myself as if it's true, and somehow that canceled out, or at least drowned out, the crappy noise that I was hearing. After an interview, if I felt good about it or if I felt awful about it, either way, I would come out thinking, all right, if I don't get that job, there's gonna be another one, I'll be fine. It's not gonna ruin me, it's, you know, Merlin Mann actually has a really good quote about like being in a room with people who kind of scare you. Just remember, they can't eat you. And they're not gonna humiliate you, they're not gonna like write a blog post about you and post it on Hacker News about like, Cori Johnson, she's like, whatever. It's not gonna happen. People can be jerks, but they're not that bad. And especially not about this. So when you come out of something, have it be water off of your back. And what works for me is not necessarily gonna work for you. Maybe for some people, it's like the more that you want it, the more committed you're gonna be to it, and the better you're gonna perform. I don't do that well when the stakes are high, so I just pretend that they're low. And in the grand scheme of things, they are low. And the third bit is, there's been a lot online lately about asking for what you deserve and what you deserve to be paid. And I was here for one of the talks where you focused on, you know, value what you have to offer and don't be afraid to ask for what you think you deserve. And when you're offered a job and they're not offering what you know is fair, or what at least you think, you know, this is below what I want, this is below what I'd feel comfortable with, and you know what that feels like. You know, even like regardless of applying for jobs, like when you're doing a project and you feel like this is not something that's going to work, but if only I was in a position to say no or demand better or demand for more, you are in that position. You're not gonna get fired for speaking your mind, and you're not going to get turned down from a job for asking for too much money in the salary negotiation. I have never heard of anyone saying like, yeah, I asked for a high number and they were like, oh, yeah, we're gonna go with someone else who has less demands about vacation time. It's not gonna happen, so don't be afraid of it happening. I think that's an extension of focusing too much on yourself and, you know, how are they gonna judge me? You have to think about what the other person is, you know, wanting, needing, would rather be doing. I'm gonna have you read some slides, so get ready. I did a quick comparison about how much time does it take a person to apply for one job, do the interview, get considered, et cetera, versus how much time does it take for a company to hire a person. These are numbers that I pulled out of my ass, so if they seem a little unrealistic, tweet about it, and I'll read it later. But so for a job hunter, you are surfing the job boards. You're probably also like chatting with your friends and listening to music and reading the news and doing 5 things at once. So you spend maybe an hour, maybe 2, finding a job posting on the boards that matches your personality. Then you find one and you're like, okay, that kind of seems interesting. You go to the company website and you're like, oh, that actually sounds really cool. So you look at what they're looking for, you look at your resume and you're like, I guess I could add something about how I did a little bit of print design since they seem to emphasize graphic design. You tweak your resume, then you write your cover letter, and you don't bullshit it, and you send it out, and then you wait. And either you won't get a response, and you'll be sad, and you'll have a margarita, and then you'll be fine. You're allowed to wallow, by the way. When I'm saying like let it be water off your back, you're still gonna get wet. Just, you're allowed to like really be sad about something, but do it proactively. Be sad for like a day or like 3 at most, but then get on with it. Don't cling to that like, oh, it was such a great opportunity and I got so close and then they passed me over. It's not gonna serve you. It's, choose what you would have done better and then move on. But you're allowed to be sad, so do it awesomely. They'll call you back, maybe, and if they do, you prep for the interview, you do the phone screen or they call you in person. You get dressed, you print out whatever stuff you want to show, you bring your laptop, you set it up, you do the interview, and then you go home. So maybe it was out of town or down in the South Bay, whatever. The total of a single job from finding it on the job board to ending the interview and getting home after the interview, I'd say that's like a max of 8 hours, maybe like 4 to 6 if it was fast-tracked. So that's like a day that you could have been doing something else. And if you don't get that job, that's like, you feel like it's a day you wasted, and that's understandable. But when you go into the interview and you're thinking, God, if I don't get this job, that's gonna be time that I could have been doing something else. These guys will have their pick of the litter. I mean, I'm just another face. Well, this is what it's like for the people on the other side of the table. I'll let you enjoy that for a minute. When a company is spending time considering applicants, they are not doing their work. They're not doing the thing that makes them money. So they're sort of losing money. Just the people who are holding the interviews, that's taking time out of their job. They already have a job, but they're not doing it. So in the time that they're interviewing applicants and meeting with you face-to-face and then going back and talking about you from start to finish, they're just as unemployed as you are. They're not making money, you're not making money, their time is being wasted just as much as your time is being wasted. So it's not a waste to go in and talk to people and come out and not get the job. You made a connection, you networked, maybe you made friends. I certainly did. I applied to Mule and I didn't get the job, but now I'm here, so. So putting job hunters aside, let me focus on, so I can wrap up real quick. I want to focus on people who are hiring, so companies who are spending all that time. There's a way that you can save a little bit of that time by putting some effort into your job listing. It's worth it to write the job post well. And I'm going to show you a couple examples. This is from a friend of mine who has a company, a small company. They do client work out in Brooklyn. This is from a job posting that they put on Authentic Jobs. The first bit is pretty standard, competitive pay, based on experience. But the way that they kind of make themselves the exception is that they address this kind of cultural expectation that my potential employer is going to try to screw me out of money. If you care about your employees and your future employees, you want to show that you respect them and that you're going to work with them. You're going to consider their needs. So this might seem like, kind of like sort of friendly, like, yeah, we're gonna work with you, and then not. But they're making the effort, and that stuck out to me. Every company has a dog. Every company can give you free lunches, but you're going to be working with people, and you want those people to have relationships with you that feel strong, productive, and respectful. And the other bit is consider that this is a changing audience. Um, the default expectation with putting jobs out is that whoever is interested in the job is going to apply, but I think you can distinguish yourself by showing that you appreciate that there are going to be biases, and there are hiring biases in our industry, just like any, and that you're just aware of them and you care about them. And this is a very this is like what McDonald's has on their website about being an equal opportunity employer, but you can word it your own way, but I highly encourage you to reach out and say, we care about what you want to be doing, not whether you are going to fit in with us in a company photo. So I've been telling you a lot about what I think, but I didn't arrive at these points by myself. I had a little bit of help. So there are 3 kind of approximate quotes. This is not coal mining. We sit at desks and we push pixels. And there should be nothing terribly scary about this. Have perspective. They're not going to eat you. You're not going to be humiliated. And you can find something that challenges you without it being crappy. A good company is going to find people, not try to find the right shape to put in the peg in the hole. You can hire people who do what they do amazingly, but are crappy to work with. And you don't want to work at a company that does that. You don't want to work at a company that puts like efficiency and productivity before a quality life and work-life balance. Now, if you're the kind of person who can kind of personally separate, like, okay, I'm just going to go to work, I'm going to work on this amazing product, the people are whatever, and then I'm going to go home and work on my own stuff, that's great. That wouldn't work for me. I want to come in and feel really excited about the people that I work with, and now I do. And it's possible. And it's important to keep in mind that it's a community. I'm getting a sign that my time is up. I came to a Typekit event, and this was back when I was applying for jobs. And I said, I felt like I wasn't getting any traction. And I went up to Jeff and I was like, can you just give me some advice? And he was like, sure. And I said, what would be your advice for someone to like find companies that are hiring? Because I felt like I wasn't finding any place that fit me personally. And he was like, network. And it felt very like, yeah, well, but he followed that up with, come to these events, talk to people, do what I was doing at that moment, which was reaching out and asking for help. I feel like with cults of personality or like internet fame, I guess, there's like this weird sort of separation. Even though there's Twitter and you can talk directly, there's kind of like the people who are really well known and popular, and then there's kind of everybody else. And you might get a little, not starstruck exactly, but intimidated about reaching out because they're going to be like, who's this random person? Or they're like always being approached for help. But they're just the same people who are sitting with you today. I mean, if I had let myself be afraid of reaching out for fear that like, well, why are they going to help me? What makes me so special? Nothing really. It's just, I love doing what I do. And last month, I was sitting where you guys are, and now I'm here, and it's because I reached out. So make some friends. That's it.
Okay, we have time. Anybody have a couple quick questions for Cori? No questions. Yes, in the red.
So you were saying like the hard for the people that's hiring? I don't know, I feel like both sides.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to diminish.
No.
Sorry.
The thing is, like, for example, you're saying, okay, ask for what you want, which I definitely agree. But what about the companies
So is the question, what if you get hired to do a job that sounds exciting initially, but then they pile a lot of other types of work on you?
Yeah, in both cases, because it's not, I mean, it's saddening for the one who's hiring as it is for the one being hired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's, you can't anticipate everything. You can't, I mean, you can't write a novel for a job posting or in your resume. It's just kind of it's an introduction. Ideally, when you're in the interview, you want to be asking questions about what am I going to be expected to do, and what is going to happen if like unexpected things arise, and hopefully you'll get a sense of that from what they tell you. I think it's important to ask those kind of questions in the interview. Interviews aren't a deposition. So don't let all the focus be about you. You and the people who are gonna potentially hire you are there because you care about doing a thing, and they just want to know that you're awesome and that you can do the thing awesomely, and that you want to. So it is an uncomfortable situation to be in, to go somewhere and feel like you were misled or you let yourself down by getting into a situation that you could have avoided. And I think it's kind of up to you about, do you talk to your bosses about, or your coworkers about, this isn't really what I signed up for? That doesn't make you bad for asking that, because you're just being honest about what you're comfortable with. And I mean, if they're asking you to do stuff that's kind of crappy, then that was a little disingenuous of them. And I think that you want to take that into account about if that's a relationship that you want to maintain. And it might feel like you're letting them down, or that like you seemed cool, but now you're like, this isn't for me, and you're kind of like disappointing them. But you're not personally beholden to them. If you're really clear about they put you or they led you into the situation and this isn't what you signed up for, you don't owe them staying. So.
Anyone else? Yes? Okay, yeah.
You talked about no bullshit. You talked about no bullshit.
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Yes.
Question about no bullshit.
Yeah.
Quite often you get that from employers talking about what they can offer you. Do you learn anything to actually interview the employers before you decide?
Yeah. One of the reasons I was getting so nervous in interviews was that I was thinking about how am I going to answer their questions. But it's a two-way relationship. You want to know as much about them so that you can avoid those situations where you get a job and you didn't sign up for some of the stuff, by interviewing them as much as you. And just keep the focus on them. You'll learn a lot about what you want out of a job by how they talk about what they do. And if you feel like they're bullshitting you, if you feel like they're kind of like talking it up, or they're talking about stuff and you don't feel like they know what they're talking about, I'd say call them out on it. Just ask questions. Just say, well, what do you mean by that? Tell me more about that. Get to like the heart of the matter. Get them talking as much as possible, and if you're getting the same answer over and over again, then it's not right for you.
All right, well, that's all the time we have this morning. Thank you very much, Cori.